And
Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Alchemy Experience podcast with our series Legacy Leadership. I just love chatting with my girl, Des. Of course, we just started recording, but we've been chatting offline about an amazing topic that we're going to dive into because I think this is something that we need to be talking about like on the daily. And that
Amen.
is boundaries as a leader and how we're
Mhm.
leaving legacy. So today we're going to dive into boundaries being the blueprint for our legacy, which is just, oh,
Mhm.
it's right in
I
the
wish we
core.
talked something.
Mm.
I wish I would have talked about this a long time ago, like at least minimum 10 years ago, like
Oh,
for real.
I feel like it's not even part of like high school curriculum. If I could, you being a teacher, which we've talked about so many things, but you being, your heart as a teacher, my heart as a social worker, like the combination of changing the trajectory of teaching and of education and of just life discussions. We've gotten so far away from real life things, teaching real life things
Mhm.
that we're just taking it to the people on our own. We don't need to push into the schools as much as someday that's probably going to happen for us because that's the legacy we're creating. But man, we're just doing it. We're doing it. So,
I love that because I was I taught life skills.
yeah.
So it was incredible for me in the time that I was doing that because it was part of the curriculum that I got to teach, and I felt like this was something that every child should have gotten, except for mine was specialized with special ed. So I was a little torn about that because I felt like every kid definitely should be learning this curriculum. But I felt honored to be the one that was chosen to do the life skills piece
Yeah.
of this and the boundaries part of this.
Yeah.
I just wish, to me, this is something that I feel like is almost some of the most important. It's some of the most important pieces of leadership because otherwise, right, if it's the blueprint of our leadership, then we really got to clearly come back to an authentic like view from the outside looking in, like what does it look like? What is it currently looking like for you as far as the boundaries that you hold in your leadership is in the legacy piece of this, like you should be able to take a step back and clearly see the whole view.
Yeah. Yeah. And not
um
let it get too mucky. Let's start off with why women struggle with boundaries as leaders. Maybe we can dive
well
into what that is. Like, why do you think sometimes we struggle?
I feel like I think a lot of this is like what we just talked about. It's just not talked about a lot. It's not in school programs. Depending on like how you grew up, like was this even part of a conversation? Like generationally, I just feel like generationally this is like a new thing for us in our generation. I don't think this was a very popular topic for
Mhm.
my parents. Like I just don't think it was. I think as every generation has their own struggles
Mhm.
or their own lack of resource or lack of knowledge, but then once it's brought forward, the next generation is very much like, well, this is what I've learned and this is what I want to do, so it's better.
Yeah.
And I think we're that generation.
Yeah. I agree. I think some of it too specific to women, from what I can tell in the women I've worked with, and this is probably rings true for you too through Warrior Women, is like there's a fear there of not pleasing. Like, right? There's that people pleasing, that being labeled as like too much. So there's this sweet spot, right? That it's like, oh, am I being too much? Oh, but I'm not enough, right? There's this like weird tug of war that I think we often have. And I think that that is where when we can just step into our feminine energy and not be so like, let's go, or like, oh, I'm too much, right? Like when we cannot worry
Hmm.
about that and we can release that, we can set boundaries so much I don't want to say easier, but we can release the need to people please. We can release that like good girl contract, right? That programming, which
Mhm.
I think, when we were growing up, let's actually, the generation before us, I know hands down, my parents were of the generation of like seen and not heard, right?
Yes.
And
Hmm.
I think I had some level of that as a young kid. That was sort of instilled in me, like especially being around my grandparents and stuff. It was just like, okay, like I don't complain if they do something for me. I just like if I don't like it, I just, oh, thank you. Right? Like there's no,
Hmm.
oh, I actually don't care for this, but I appreciate you. Like there was none of that, right? But as I
Hmm.
started to get older, I started to find my voice and started to say, oh, like this is how I'd rather do things, or no, thank you, So I think there's a boundary there that we start to tap into as we get older, but I think we're that bridge generation because I know my kids certainly will speak their mind.
Yes, we totally are the bridge generation. And I think that you're right. Like in my house, this is talked about a lot. Like the
Mhm.
kids are talking about this all the time. And that's only because they've had the leadership that's was talking about it, that did have some resources for it. And I loved it because um what I like to talk about a lot when it comes to me, my boundaries, those kinds of things is self-respect. And that's something that I preach about often in my house is I like to say a lot, the difference between me and a lot of other people is that I have enough self-respect for everybody in the room sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be taken as like very egotistical.
Hmm.
But
Too
to me
much, right? We're too much.
yeah,
Yeah.
but to me it's not egotistical at all. It's just that I've come to a place where it's just like I have so much respect for myself, that I've I don't mistake self-respect for not being strategic.
Hmm.
Like it's a strategic part of leadership.
Yep.
It's and that's and there's no gray for me in that area now. You know what I mean? And I feel like sometimes that is very gray depending on if you're still people pleasing or if you still feel outnumbered by the generational patterns or you lack self-respect in many ways, maybe because you just didn't have a voice growing up and things like that. But to me, I think self-respect is very strategic in leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. And self-trust.
Mm,
So self-respect and self-trust, right? I spoke about
yes.
this morning when I did my, Fearless Friday episode series here that I'm running. And I talked about how when you can get to a point where no matter what happens, you got you.
Hmm.
Right? Like that is such true leadership where it's just like, I know when to lead, I know when to follow. And if people are going to take lead and I step into a following role, or I'm the leader and people follow me, no matter what happens, whether we completely fail and fall on our face or, things start to go and we build momentum, either way, like I'm gonna be okay.
Hmm.
And when we can just trust ourselves enough to lead through with that feminine intuition and guidance and just
Hmm.
say, I respect myself enough to take the risk of failure, then we can just set boundaries wherever we need to, right? We can just say, hey, it's okay if you don't want to be a part of this with me.
Hmm.
I'm going to do it anyway, and that's okay.
Right. And I'm still
Mm.
good with it either way.
Yeah, I'm still going to love on you. Like it's all good. So that can transition into what the costs of not having boundaries are. So let's talk about
Hmm.
that a little bit. I mean, I know I can start, but my whole business really how it how it started was because I was burned out.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is your whole jam, girl.
My
This
whole
is you
jam, right?
know.
Like I was not the boundaries that I just lacked with my family, with my friends, with people that I thought were friends, with people that were colleagues and mentors that I thought were colleagues and mentors and were just out for their own, right?
Hmm.
And it was hard and it was painful, but man, I was so burned out and I was not setting boundaries anywhere. I wasn't setting it in my career. I wasn't setting it in my home. I wasn't setting it with people coming into my world. I just was trying to be all things to all things, and
Hmm.
there was no boundary. And it was painful because when you start to set boundaries, people get confused because
Hmm.
why is she acting like this? What the hell's
Yeah.
wrong with her? And it's like,
Yeah.
mm-mm, I've always been this person. I just allowed you to take advantage of that
Hmm.
of me, and this version is no longer going to allow that.
Hmm.
So the cost of not setting boundaries is pure and utter burnout for sure.
Absolutely. I can't say ditto to you enough with that. I love that it's like boundaries, it's sustainability.
Yeah.
Boundaries is the only way we can sustain, right? Because you're right, because without that, there's no sustainability and then burnout happens.
Yeah.
And because that's just because we're all human at the end of the day. My goodness, look at what the women are doing in this world right now. Like, they're just, women are simply just incredible. We just do everything. I'm so amazed by women. We are just, it's crazy the amount of roles we play and the steps we take and um, the selflessness in so many ways. But with the boundaries, it's like the one way that we're able to go, you know what? This is for me now. This
Mhm.
is for me. This is how I can be sustainable to all of you.
Mhm.
Because without that, then I'm burned out and then I'm no good to nobody too, right? So it's like it
Right.
just becomes this like you've just lit the whole house on fire. If the woman goes down in the house, the whole house is burning down, right?
Girl. Yeah.
And I love looking at it as far as sustainability because I too, I had a moment in my life when COVID hit. Girl, COVID hit. I had two parents and two ventilators in two different hospitals,
Mm.
pregnant as a special ed teacher. If I could tell you the amount of decisions and steps and sleepless nights and hospital doctors calling me in the middle of the night and having to wake up at 5 in the morning to drive on my way as a teacher and um, with all the stuff with the pandemic, not knowing what was going to happen, I knew I was going to get it. I knew I was going to get it quick. I knew it was. I knew I was going to be the one bringing it to my family. All this, like all the things that you think about.
Mhm.
And I remember I came to a place where my business was the only reason why I was able to step out of that position
Mhm.
because it gave me a pivot where I was able to, and thank God I was because I was on the brink. And I mean the brink in every way, physically, mentally, emotionally, my nervous system, everything was almost completely broken. And I looked at my husband and I said, thank God for this company. Because if I wasn't going to be able to pull out right at that time, I would have been another woman experiencing burnout on a daily. And I know what that feels like, and I don't wish that life for anybody.
Yeah, I agree. And it starts to, so the burnout is the what it all rolls up to, right? But underneath that is resentment. We start to resent ourself and the choices we made. We start to resent our family and friends. We start to resent, for simple little things like, oh, our family might be going and doing something that we just can't simply do, or friends are getting together and we don't have the ability to go do that. And so we resent them rather than either joining them or being happy and joyful, right? So resentment builds, we start to lose our identity in who we feel we are. I was at a place years ago, gosh, I remember walking through the hospital hallways and just like feeling like out of body experience in all the negative ways of
Yes.
just like who am I? What am I doing here? How did I get here? How did I get to this place? Not in a pinch me, oh my gosh, how are we here? That I experienced this year, but in a different way of
Right, right.
how did I get here? On the brink of divorce, on the brink of, not knowing how to mom my kids, on the brink of, struggling with friends and struggling with my career. Like, how did I get here? It
Mhm.
just was such a low point. And yes, we all have to experience some lows to get some highs, but not from a place of, complete and utter burnout and not knowing what to do next. So there's that loss of power then. You feel powerless, right? So being able to take back our power from a place of like, no, I get to stand in my power and find peace. Um,
Hmm.
and I think lastly, to that point of what it's costing you is like, not that we train people how to treat us, but like on some level, right? Like people are going to treat us how we let them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like just to go off of like the burnout piece of this, when the boundaries aren't established, um, like looking at dreaming about legacy, right? It's like you can't even come to that place. You can't you can't even imagine what legacy looks like because you're living in burnout,
Yeah.
right?
Not even on
So
your radar. Yeah.
it's like not even it's like the last thing you're thinking of because you're just surviving,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And so I love that because it's a very hard stop right here. Legacy can't be built on burnout,
Yeah.
period. I mean, that's a very hard, direct, hard stop because it's true. Like you just you can't build a legacy on burnout. You have to come out of the surviving and into, like you said, that you've experienced this year where it's like, pinch me, I can't believe I got here, because that's thriving. That's a completely different place. And that's where legacy tends to land, is where those shifts are in place. And I would love to say that the surviving to the thriving and in between is all the boundaries that we place in between, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. It's funny. My husband and I had a little date day today, and I was telling you about it before we hopped on. And we pull in, and there's like so many people. We went to Costco, guys. That was our idea of a date, which is totally fine because we got to sample food, we got to buy all the things we wanted. We got to go out to lunch after. It was a great day. And we pull in, and my husband's like, don't people work? Because there were so many people there. And I'm like, what? We're here. We're not working right now. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it was just funny. He's like, gosh, don't people have jobs? I'm like, do we have jobs? And I'm like, we do, but we get to sort of choose how that looks. And we have freedom and peace about that. And I don't take that lightly. And I don't say like that it wasn't hard to get to this point. Um, but it it took courage. It took the ability to step into setting boundaries with people, setting boundaries with ourselves, setting boundaries with each other, and the ability to
Mhm.
have talks about dreaming, and saying, what do we want our legacy? What do we want our life to look like? Because the way it was going was not it.
Mhm.
Right. And so coming back to boundaries versus controlling, I very much have owned the fact that I am a control freak. I know this, right? But I have released a lot of control, especially this year in certain ways. But I think looking at boundaries are not a sense of trying to control other people. So I think I want to be clear on that for people, that it's not like, oh, you're controlling the thing. No, it's more of, this is what I allow versus you need to behave this way, right? It's not like, oh, you need to do this. It's more like, no, you can behave however you want to behave, but this is where this is the threshold I allow in my life.
Right.
Difference, right? And I think a tangible
Completely.
tool for people to use that I have used is, I'm not going to engage in a discussion about X, Y, and Z, and then I disengage. I use this with my kids a lot. Hey, I'm not going to engage with somebody that's talking to me like that right now. And then I walk away if they're yelling at
Mhm.
me or if they're getting sassy. Right. And so it's two steps. It's acknowledging, hey, I just don't engage in this type of behavior and conversation. But then you have to walk away and disengage. You can't keep going tit for tat. Right. And
Mhm.
so that is a very clear boundary setting with other people. And some people
Mhm.
are going to question that and struggle with that, but practice it. I highly recommend practicing that verbiage because I think um, it's been helpful for me, and I think it's
It's so good.
yeah,
It's so good because it's tangible for the people who are going to watch this right now to be able to use that in their life. And I have these conversations clearly with my kids still to this day. Like, there's certain things and certain ways to go about conversations with people so that we're clearly establishing, like, yes, you can behave all you want. That doesn't mean that I'm giving my energy or my attention to that. I'm not going to entertain that. So, and that's a clear boundary. And as far as the legacy leaders of this, right? bringing it back to the girls, like when I think about my crew and my boundaries and my values, right? I feel very strong about lots of things, and family is one of them for me. Family is everything for me, which includes my marriage, which includes my relationship with my kids. So in my circle, you're going to find how I've placed a boundary in my life where that's who I'm rolling with. I'm rolling with people who really love their family, who really love their marriage, who really love the relationship with their kids. Not that it's perfect,
Right.
right? That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for perfect or perfection. I'm just looking that's a priority in their life. Not judging on how it is for them, but having it be a priority. So for instance, an example for me is, and I used a couple days ago, is for me, like I love marriage. And so I'm not going to be hanging out with a bunch of girls who are cheating on their husbands and
Hmm.
thinking that it's cute, because it's not, right? For me, I'm not going to entertain it. I'm not going to be a part of it. And I don't want that as part of my legacy. So if that's part of your life, then that's part of your life. That's fine. I'm not going to be entertaining that, right? So that's kind of like, as far as like my legacy, I think about who I'm around and making sure I'm purposely placing myself in positions where what I look at as my leadership is also in my circle.
Hmm.
Huge.
Yeah.
It's like the married guy who loves his wife, who hangs out with a bunch of cheaters, and then he ends up cheating on his wife because he's just with a bunch of people who are cheating on their wife,
Yeah.
right? If you have a whole group of people who are cheating on your wife, it's going to be hard for you to stay loyal because it's not a priority, it's not a boundary,
Yes.
right? So it's like I think that those kinds of conversations is like I'm very upfront about those things. And some people are like, well, dang. Well, yeah, because it's not going to help me get to my next, the legacy that I'm trying to lead, if that's what's happening behind the scenes, so for me, that's kind of my walk away today with that.
Yeah, I agree. And we're the combination of the five people we surround ourselves with, right? We talked about this on our Legacy Leadership membership call, where we are the combination of the five people we surround ourselves with and their habits.
Mm-hmm.
So if we are surrounding ourselves with people that are going out and partying till all hours of the night all the time,
Yes.
we're more apt to engage in those behaviors, even if that's not who we want to be. If we're spending time with people that are engaging in those behaviors, we're more apt to engage in those behaviors, right? So if we're spending time with people that are dreaming and setting goals and crushing them and setting more
Mm-hmm.
goals and crushing them and engaging with their family and doing things that are adventurous and things like that are risky in way of expansion of their identity and who they are, not being expensive in a different type of way, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we are stepping into those arenas, those rooms, those connections. We're more apt to grow in that direction. So I think you hit that right on the head there, is that, you know, be mindful of your circle.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are spending time with a circle, or if your circle seems to be outgrowing you or you're outgrowing it, it's okay to look at other circles.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you abandon ship. It doesn't mean you completely leave this group. It means maybe we limit the time with this group and we step into other groups and just rediscover what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
do that at any time in your life. There's no rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so true, because and then I would love to say too, um with as far as legacy leadership goes, this is the group. If you're looking for, a group to be able to have you take a step back and take a look at, the from the back end and looking in of what your dream looks like, right? This is the group, right? If you're looking to expand the community and girls from all over the country who are just CEO amazing women in all different fields, all different backgrounds, all different ages, this is the group, right? If you're looking to have this stretch of like what's possible, right? And really start thinking limitlessly and taking off this like cap that we try to cap ourselves. This is the group. If you want to be surrounded with a bunch of women who have a lot of self respect and understand the importance of boundaries and be able to walk through those kinds of conversations with people, because we're not always going to agree on everything, but I think it's really important because once the boundaries, at least people understand and respect the boundaries and that we can walk through those kinds. This is the group for you, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is how we stand out.
Hmm. We're just real, we're raw with it. We're gonna not call each other out in way of like lack, but call each other out in way of, wait a minute, you deserve better than that. And wait a minute, you are better than that. Like, let's talk through that. And I think that's what's been great about our relationship. I think that's what's been great about what we're growing and what we're building inside of the legacy leadership membership that we have. So I'm loving what that's about. I'm so excited to see how this continues and what we're doing here in Legacy Leaders series for this podcast episodes. We're taking snippets from our legacy leadership conversations that we're having inside of our closed group. And we're taking things that are really true and real, like boundaries. We started talking about that in our legacy leader membership. And that's something that we're going to continue to talk about through the holiday and how, as leaders, leading women inside of our home and inside of our businesses, how do we manage all that? And
Mhm.
so, as a collective, we're going to be talking about that inside of that closed group. So, the little snippets of things that are big topics for us, we'll bring here on this podcast. And we want to hear from you guys about what else you want to listen about or what questions you have for those that are really tapping into the vibrational frequency of legacy leadership and how we're doing it. And let us know what your questions are, what your thoughts are, what your statements are, and we'll bring
Mhm.
that here to the collective. There's just a couple questions that I want to leave people with, and if you want to answer them or add to them, um, do so, Des, because I think it's important. But I think some questions you can ask yourself in regards to boundaries is as you're building your own boundary and legacy, where do you feel resentment or like pulling, right? Where are you feeling this resistance or this pull or this resentment? Where are you feeling that you're overgiving? And where do you feel like you're trying to please or who do you feel like you're trying to please? So ask yourself these questions, like really sit with those questions as we go into this holiday season and reflect on how do we want to go into the new year setting good boundaries.
I love that. And then for me, which were all so good, those were all good. For me, I would want to have a call to action to all the women watching this right now.
Yes.
Um, every yes and every no is a choice. And there's a lot of things connected to every yes, and there's a lot of things connected to every no. I want to know what has been the best choice that you've made that's been connected to your legacy. In this past year, we're heading into a new year. What does that look like? What are you hoping for the next year? How is that going to change? And then take a look at the no's. Take a look at the no's that we've decided a no on, and how that looks for your legacy going into 2026 as well. Because every yes and every no is going to lead you in one direction.
Mhm.
And for this group, what we're really trying to do is have women who really want to lean into what are those yeses and nos, and what has it looked like, and what would you like to be the same, where are you heading, and how would you like it to change. And then from there, it's like legacy leaders waiting at the end for those women to come together and all sit down at the table together, in a convenient way through through a Zoom once a month, and then have all the networking and the resources connected to all this. This is like literally the cherry on top kind of stuff. I wish I would have been a part of it a long time ago. But you know what? I do believe that this is going to be a huge yes in a lot of girls' legacy. And I can't wait to meet those girls.
Mm, yeah, I love that. I love that. I think what I'm hearing you say, if it's going to expand you, lean in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if it's something that you feel like isn't, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. I love what we're building. I love that we're continuing to bring good content for people to lean into. I know that we're modeling healthy boundaries. We're not always perfect, and
Mm-hmm.
I fail at it all the time. I mess up all the time, but I also learn. And I think that's what we're about inside of this group, inside of this series. And, you know, I'm gonna say what you said the other night on our call was forget how it was said exactly, but we want to write basically the stories and the things that our grandkids are going to talk about.
Yeah, it said it was being the woman that your grandchildren will quote in the future.
Yes. Yes. And like it hit me because I'm like, I say, my husband and my friends always make fun of me because I have like one word or phrases that just are not real or just completely obnoxious and they call them Aaronisms. And there's gonna be things that I know that like my kids and my grandkids quote because I say stupid things and they make fun of me. So it's just gonna be like an ongoing like inside joke of our family. But then also there's gonna be things that I think are powerful that I say that my kids will talk about and they'll pass down to their kids and it will just be like, oh, great grandma said this stuff, you know? And
Yeah.
man, that makes me feel like so old, but at the same time, like that's what it's about, the stories we pass down and the legacy. So I love that.
I know, me too. I love it too. I love even thinking about that and going there. And that's why I guess I'm so hungry for really leaning into the legacy piece of this because what we're laying down right now is just the beginning of what is going to come for generations.
Yeah.
And someone has to just step up and start, right? And that's like let's make dreaming really really big, really cool again. Let's be trailblazers.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Let's be trailblazers. Let's take the limits off. Let's get a group of girls around who want to do this, and I'm excited to see who it is for us because they're going to be part of our legacy. Whoever is joining this group, right? This is part of our future, trajectory. So this is really exciting for me. I'm happy to be here. I think this was such a great conversation.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for leading with me in this wild thing called life. And I think you guys, if this hit you, share this. Share this with a woman that you know that needs to step into her leadership and share this with somebody that you respect and know is a leader and that you want to share this information with. It would mean the world to us for you to share it. It would mean the world for us for you to just engage with us and give us some feedback. So thanks for listening and tune in. We'll be here weekly coming at you with some tidbits of information, but also just being real and raw with what we got going on. So I love it. And we'll catch you guys next time. Let's go set it on fire. See ya.